Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor and I am your host, and I am not God, obviously. I'm not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of my microphone in my room alone, hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. I was in church last week because that is something that I do. And I'm going to tell you, the last thing I wanted to do was go to church last week. I did not want to be there. But you know what? It did. It made my life better. And I hate when that happens. It's so annoying, but it really did. It was a good church experience. But in the one of the meetings that we had, someone shared a quote and I've Googled it. It's attributed to like a lot of different people. I think it's said in a lot of different ways, but it's about willingness and ability with God. And it's something along the lines of God can make the willing able, but cannot make the able willing. This quote was shared, and I just thought about, like, I have long thought that willingness is really all that we have to bring to the table, but it's also like the hardest thing to bring to the table. And I think that giving our will to God is actually like that's why agency is so important, because God could force our will if he wanted, but he values agency and respects agency above all else. And so when we choose to willingly align our life with him, when we choose to believe in divinity, when we like, that's where that power and choice is so meaningful to me, because it's not a forced situation. And our will and our willingness, I think, is the greatest gift that we have to give. And so I think that's why service can be so powerful and so beautiful, because when we choose to give of ourselves to other people, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing more powerful than that. And so I've been thinking a lot about impossible things, and I was having a conversation with a friend. Does everyone that knows me in real life brace themselves when I say that? Like, which conversation is she about to exploit for content? But I was talking to a friend about something that she was like, it's just impossible. And there are impossible situations in this life. I think grief is one of those where there's not a solution to it. Maybe you've seen God do impossible things in your life in one way or another. And often people talk about miracles in that context of like these grand stories of the impossible being made possible. But what I think is more significant and more relatable is this small everyday stuff that really is still the impossible being made possible. And for me right now, that looks like having hope and faith, being able to choose that. That feels like the impossible being made possible to me. Living still after such tragedy, that feels like the impossible being made possible. But there's even smaller examples, honestly. Getting up and getting out of bed and going to work with a certain level of depression. I always feel like these conversations about miracles are so much more meaningful to me when we talk about these small things, because very rarely do huge, grand miracles happen. And more often than not, people don't get the miracles that they want or that they hope for. And so when we hold on so tightly to these huge, miraculous stories, I think it can kind of twist the knife a little bit for those of us who have asked for a miracle and didn't get the one that we wanted. And this episode is actually not about miracles, but that's the tangent that I've gone on, so we'll finish it up. But and I probably shared on this podcast before, but someone said to me, whose husband had died from brain cancer very tragically and very quickly. She said, "We didn't get the miracle that we wanted, but I couldn't deny all the little ones that happened there, like after that." And that is something that I have chosen to live by. If I didn't get the miracle that I wanted, but I can't deny all the little ones that have continued to happen since then. And it's all those little ones that I find the most significant and the most powerful in my life and in others. So why did I go on this tangent about miracles? It's because there is a willingness required for miracles. There is a willingness required for faith. And that is the biggest gift that we can give, is our will and our willingness. And if God can make the willing able, but can't make the able willing, I don't know if that's true. Someone just said that. Maybe you don't identify with that. I'm trying to decide if I really believe that, because I think that God can make the able willing, but he doesn't. Nope, I do believe that quote, because I don't think he does, because I think he values agency. So could he? Probably, but he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't force our will. He doesn't force our willingness. And that's why giving it freely is such a powerful thing. choosing it is such a powerful thing. So anyway, I've been thinking about this and just thinking about if you're facing some impossible situations in your life, big or small, and you've deemed them as impossible, or you're facing something that you think, I can't do that, like your physical, mental, your personal ability to do it is, you are unable. I'm unable to do that. I'm unable to carry on. I'm unable to choose faith. I'm unable to believe in God. I'm unable to find light in this situation. I'm unable to forgive that person. I'm unable to get out of bed today. When you find yourself at this place and it feels impossible, and I don't say this dismissively, it's very real when you feel like you're in a place where you're unable, your ability is not there. What if instead of focusing on our ability and how to make ourselves able, all we do is focus on bringing willingness to the table? I'm willing to believe. I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to feel better. I'm willing to forgive. I don't know how I'm going to. I don't have the ability to do that, but I'm willing to try. And maybe if all we do is bring that willingness to the table, we don't have to actually worry about the ability, because that's where divinity steps in and closes that deficit. So we don't have to worry about what we can do, what we're able to do. We just have to be willing to try, willing to entertain the thought that maybe God is real, willing to be open to the possibilities. And maybe that's the path of introducing God into the problem. And then we will witness how the impossible can be made possible. I have seen it happen. I actually see it happen almost every day in my life, which sounds dramatic, but when I'm willing to see it that way, it's true. I've been suffering a lot, and I'm really grateful today to feel like I'm coming back to a place of willingness where maybe I'm willing to be open to these things. I'm willing to soften my heart to the possibility of divinity intervening in my life and making the impossible possible. My child just rode past my window in her pajamas with the worst bedhead. Okay. Well, I'm going to go find my child and get her dressed and do her hair. And you have a great day. And just consider, what if we were willing? What if we don't have to be able? What if we only have to be willing? That's hard. It's hard to be willing. It's really, really hard. So I'm not like, that's all we have to do. But just let's shift our focus. See what happens. Love you. Bye.